Hey everyone, welcome back to another Mattel Jurassic World review. Today we're taking a look at the new Dino Escape Fierce Force Masiakasaurus. Fierce Force is the new fancy schmancy name for Savage Strikes. Packaging is the same, the dinosaurs are roughly around the same size, and they're all still within that $10 price point. I ended up finding this weird looking dinosaur at Target. There's a couple different Jurassic displays, at least at my Targets. There's the ones in the main aisle, and there's some are on end caps or different sections of the toy area. So definitely walk around your Target toy area. The figures might be in two spots. These were actually in that secondary display. They weren't in the main aisle. It's nice to see new species popping up here and there in Dino Escape. I know the line is really repaint heavy, but we all know Dominion got pushed back a year and they kind of had to scramble to assemble this line to fill in the gap. So I'm really not going to fault Mattel by the heavy amount of repaint so far. So let's go over the packaging really quick before we crack this figure open. Comes in the new Dino Escape Fierce Force packaging, which is very similar to the old Savage Strike packaging. Got the Jurassic World logo up here. Blue over here, you get the destroyed paddock fence in the background. The Dino Escape logo is down here. Picture showing where the activate the action feature on the Masiakasaurus. And then turn around, you get a nice picture of how that action feature works. Then down here in the corner are the other figures available in this wave. The Sauropelta and Gallimimus make an appearance in wave. The Gallimimus actually has a new action feature. You just push the button and the head bobs up and down. And we have a slightly retool of the Savage Strike Raptor. I actually did pick that one up. The other ones I did pick up. I'm sending those over to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. One thing I noticed about this wave, a lot of green figures. There's actually a ton of green figures coming out in Dino Escape. I don't know if there was a sale on green plastic, but man, a lot of green, a lot of green. But yeah, I picked up the Raptor and the Masiakasaurus. I'm not going to review these two. I'm just really not interested in them. I have a ton of Gallimimus figures. I don't need any more. So anyways, enough about the packaging. Let's crack this figure open and take a closer look. Alright, let's start on this 360-degree view of the Masiakasaurus. Like I said, it's nice to see new species in the Jurassic World line, and there's not many Masiakasaurus figures. I think the only other one I can think of is the Safari Limited one. But yeah, this thing is definitely really weird looking. One thing I noticed about, Mattel when they do new dinosaur species, the new species that don't appear in canon, the ones that don't appear in, Camp Cretaceous and the movies, they're very cartoony looking. And this one is really cartoony looking to me. Those teeth are just, big and blunt and goofy looking. And that's one of the things about Masiakasaurus. It was a weird carnivorous dinosaur from Madagascar. It had a long neck. It had forward-facing teeth, which, paleontologists think that mostly fed on invertebrates and maybe even picked on fruit. The teeth were not suited for tearing flesh at all. But I do find the figure oddly charming. I do like the stylized look that Mattel does with some of these new species that don't appear in canon. But one thing I don't like, too much green. The figure is cast in a dark green plastic, and then you have bright green highlights all over the body. And we're seeing that two-tone color thing that I did not like seeing in Dino Rivals, and I feel like it's coming back again. Like maybe like what I said, that Mattel had to scramble and throw this line together. But just mix up the colors a little bit. Add like a third color on there. I don't like seeing just plastic and one paint app on there. It just makes the figures look really cheap and lazy. But one thing, the sculpting detail on this figure up close, it's really nicely detailed. A lot of fine scales and all different scale variation all over this figure, and that I do appreciate. The lazy paint job, not so much. Alright, let's just do a couple quick measurements. This figure is 7 inches long from the tip of that ugly head to the tip of the tail, and just about 4 inches tall. So there's like two size estimates for Masiakasaurus. One, it's around 6.7 feet long, so I put this figure somewhere in the 1/11 scale range, and then there's a newer estimate, I think from like 2016. It was measuring the femur of a subadult individual that could be possibly around just over 15 feet long, so that put this figure somewhere in the 125 scale range. Pick which size you want, and that's the scale you can go with. Alright, let's zoom in and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with that ugly looking head. Now that I'm zoomed in, you can see all that nice finely sculpted detail all over this figure. It's a pretty detailed figure, more detailed than some of the figures in the Mattel line. I feel like their newer figures have a lot more detail than some of their older stuff, and I think the detailing on here turned out pretty great. Now, the eye is painted in yellow, but the pupil is not painted in. It's just the base green plastic behind it, and I hate when Mattel does that. Just add black for the pupil. It's just really distracting and ugly. They did it with a few figures in Primal Attack, and they did it with a bunch of figures in Dino Escape, and now we're seeing it again, so that is disappointing. those forward-facing teeth. Yeah, they're facing forward a little bit. Let me just close the jaw. You can see they are nicely painted in white. Got a little sloppy paint along the lips. The bottom jaw is done in a lime green color. And then opening the mouth up, you can see inside the tongue is nicely sculpted with some of that glossy paint to give it that wet look. And the thing looks absolutely hilarious from the front. And then turn around this side, there it is, the typical Mattel sloppy paint job. And most of the time, it's always on the side where you can't see it in the packaging. And that is just getting really, really frustrating. I'll be honest, I should have looked this figure over before I bought it, because if, I noticed it after I took it out of the packaging, should have looked at it closer in the store, but I was on my lunch break and didn't have too much time. I would have left it on the shelf. I wouldn't have picked this up if it had an eye this bad. I don't even care if it was a new species. So that is disappointing to see. I have so many figures with misprinted eyes from Mattel. It's getting really, really frustrating. And going to the top of the head, you got a nice row of spikes that continues down the neck, and you'll notice that the head is cast in a different color green than the rest of the body. This material is a softer plastic. The rest of the body is a harder plastic. It's not color matched well, so, up close, it's two different colors. From a distance, it's really not that bad, but like I said, on closer inspection, it is really noticeable. Now going down to the long neck, which is characteristic of Masiakasaurus. That's nicely sculpted, folds and wrinkles. Scale variation, got some spikes along the neck, and a double row of, so actually a triple row of spikes on the back that turns into 2 rows that converges again to 1 row at both the halfway point of the tail, and you get a nice look of that bright green paint deco along the back and the thighs, green on green. I never find it appealing. I think it just looked really ugly in this figure. I just wish they went with a different color instead of just green on green. Like I said, for some reason, Mattel is obsessed with green dinosaurs this year. And going down to the arms, they are nicely sculpted and muscular. The hand claws are not painted, which is pretty typical for most figures from Mattel. Then going down to the body, get some nice scale variation. Like I said, the figure is very well detailed. A lot of nice texture and scales on here. I love the feel of it, especially along the thighs. You get some nice large scales sculpted in. Get more of that bright green paint deco. Some nicely sculpted calf muscles. Oversized feet for stability. The toe claws aren't painted in, which is pretty typical. And let's turn the figure over so people can see the code for the fax app. Now, here's one thing I want to talk about on this figure. You can see all this yellow plastic flecks all over this thing. And, Mattel adds, different color plastic to some of their molds to, I guess, add definition. But lately, it looks absolutely god-awful. I mean, it's just really distracting. You can see it on the head right here. It looks like it shouldn't belong there, but it's supposed to belong there. My T-Rex I got with my Explorer set, it had all this white plastic flecks on it, and like something I could scrape off my finger. Just really off-putting and ugly looking. I really don't know what's going on over there with some of the design choices from them. You can see more flecks on the tail, on the thighs, and a lot more flecks along the tail and stuff. So yeah, not a fan of that. And then going down to the tail, you can see more of that bright green deco and some nice scale detail. So that will do it for the figure. Let's go over articulation and then the action feature. For articulation, surprisingly, the jaw is not connected to the action feature. The jaw is fully articulated. You can open it and close it. It's not tied to the action feature at all. Going down to the arms, they can move forwards, backwards. They're on a hinge, which allows the arms to swing out. Going to the hind legs, they can move forwards. There's a little ratchet in there to lock the feet back into the neutral position. Go forward, and you can go backwards with it. And there is a little bit of a hip pivot to help with stability. And the tail can rotate 360 degrees. I really hope one day they just add hinges so the tails can swing side to side. That would look much better instead of the tail just spinning around for no reason. Now, moving on to the action feature, there is a button on the back right here, and all you need to do is just press it, and its head will just move forward just a little bit. Kind of wish it had like a snap in action to make it look better, but that's all you're going to get. You're just going to bash its head into something with its mouth wide open, or you can do it with its mouth closed. Not the most exciting action feature. My camera doesn't move focus on it, but yeah, that's all you're going to get. I really don't buy these figures for the action features anyways, so it is what it is. All right, moving on with comparisons. First up here is one of the human figures. Here it is with Kenji. And next up, I usually don't do this too often when I review Jurassic World figures because they're not meant to be accurate at all. But here is the Safari Limited Masiakasaurus. So you can see what this animal should look like in real life, not this disproportionate cartoony mess that Mattel made. You can see the long neck and those forward-facing teeth. And, it's a much slender-looking animal. But like I said, these aren't meant to be accurate, so I'm not going to knock the figure for that. I just like I said, for some reason, they're non-canon dinosaurs. They're just really cartoony looking. I just wish they kind of refined them a little bit like the canon figures. And next up, here it is with the Savage Strike Velociraptor. And here it is with the Roar Attack Ceratosaurus. And here it is with the Mega Destroyer Stegosaurus. And here it is with the Danger Pack Scorpius Rex. And lastly, here's another dinosaur from Madagascar. Here it is with the Soundstrike Majungasaurus. So, final thoughts on the Fierce Force Masiakasaurus. I'm always happy to add a new species to my Jurassic World collection, but that green on green is just really unappealing to me. For some reason, Mattel is going gaga over green with this line, just so much of it, and like I said, it's just really off-putting to me. And the other issue is, like I said, the non-canon dinosaurs get these really goofy cartoon looks to them, and the Masiakasaurus is a perfect example of that. But in the end, I do find it slightly appealing. I do kind of like some of these exaggerated features that Mattel gives these dinosaurs, and I am happy to add this to my collection. But fun fact, they already announced a repaint of this figure. The color scheme looks much better. It's like a brown maroon color with yellow spots on it, which is kind of odd that they released a repaint already. They're doing the same thing with the Carcharodontosaurus. I just don't get sometimes how Mattel just picks figures like and release like rapid repaints in a row on them. Like there's plenty of stuff they can do repaints of. Dimetrodon, Scutosaurus, Postosuchus, Amargasaurus, 4 really weird, rare figures. Oh, and that Gasosaurus that people just want, and the prices online are just outrageous on them. So hopefully some of those rarer sculpts show up in this line at some point. Like I said at the beginning of the review, this figure is showing up at Target. Walmart already did a reset, and there's tags on the shelf for it. But like last time Walmart did a reset, they did not stock it well, so I guess time will tell if they're actually going to stock these figures. I didn't check if there's a listing on Target for this thing, but if there is, I will put it down below in the description. So that will do it for the review. I have a few more Jurassic World things I got to review. I got the adult bumpy Roar Attack. I found one wild pack so far, the Herrerasaurus. I'm still looking for that Zuni Ceratops. I got the Fierce Force Velociraptor. And finally, my GR Toys, Carcharodontosaurus, and the PNSO Neotyrannus finally showed up, so I'll be getting the reviews up on those in the next week or so. So stay tuned for those, and as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously, and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.